It's Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 into the evening. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. In this video, I want to highlight the slow movement of this. This is Melissa. It is now starting to get better organized. So it is starting to kind of gather some steam and organize. We're going to see more of that as it gets stronger over the next couple days. It is going to be very, very slow. With that said, as this moves closer to Jamaica, this is going to be a long duration event. On Saturday morning, some of us may be saying, hey, what storm? It's not here yet. Well, it's not supposed to be. As we get deeper into the day on Saturday, that's when it's really going to start to work in for a lot of us. But here's the issue. A hurricane on one day is bad enough, let alone the potential of it impacting us late Saturday, Sunday, Monday, even into Tuesday. That is the big issue, because that means two things: persistent winds, tropical storm or hurricane force for about 3 days, maybe a little bit more, and that means 3 to 4 days of tropical rain. So you get the idea with this system. A very slow mover. Really doesn't make a difference on the exact path of this. We have high concerns in Jamaica, so we are making those preparations. Now I want to show you the rain totals as well. So it's the duration of the winds and the duration of the rain, which will really stack up. Now, as this area is still disorganized, kind of a sloppy system, as it continues, a little glitch in the satellite, as it works its way to the north, it just feeds in that moisture. Our team on the ground has been letting me know in parts of Haiti, we've already had that flooding around, and we've already had that in parts of the Dominican Republic. Heavy batches of rain continue to move in. The southern coast of Haiti, the peninsula, we could have tropical storm or hurricane force winds deeper into the weekend. So it's only going to get worse. Even as this area eventually moves its way toward Jamaica, the backside flow just persisted, bringing in over 300 millimeters of rain easily in some spots, especially along the southern coast of Haiti, watching over toward the Dominican Republic. Little enhancement as well of some of the rain in Puerto Rico. Now, in this video, I also want to talk about down the road as this makes a turn. What could that mean for the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos? So we're going to cover that. Now, here's the most likely path as it stands. This is right now as we work our way into tonight. This is how slow of a mover this is. Tomorrow and Saturday still sitting here, but with that, just pumping in heavier weather back toward Haiti. That is the concern. Again, you've been getting the word out. This is the critical time before the storm to spread the word. I appreciate you sharing this channel, no doubt, to get it out there. If you do subscribe, you'll get the notifications, because I'll put out some additional videos and you'll get those first. With that, I just want to get the word out about this. The rain is only going to be picking up in Haiti and even the Dominican Republic. And then eventually, as this works its way from Saturday into Sunday, Monday, and even Tuesday, it could be sitting on top of or very close to Jamaica for, again, about 3, maybe 3.5 to 4 days. That is a huge problem. As I mentioned, a big system moving by in a day, that's bad enough. This could be sitting there. Now, still a difference in some of the models, although the American model is starting to shift back to the west, and there are more signs that it is simply off because it is not reading the environment very well. Either way, if this were to move right into Haiti, the impact, the big concern still is the rain, so it doesn't really change as far as what we do. We've been making the preparations best we can. We all have different means, and we're trying to help each other. Haiti and the Dominican Republic, the rain, regardless of the track, the major and life-threatening situation. So watching out for that flood and mudslide potential. And then as we work our way back toward Jamaica, the European model, the one I'm leaning to, brings this in. And most of the models show this. So a big model difference, but most of the models show what the European model is showing: a hurricane, a strengthening hurricane on top of or near Jamaica for several days. Now, you can see here, we're going to see a lot of watches and warnings. We already have those. The watches that are out will be changing over to warnings, especially as we go over the next 24 hours. That is not a surprise. We're going to get warnings out of this as this moves closer. The track of it will take it just to the south of Jamaica or potentially in. Now, there will be differences as we go forward. If this moves into the west end of Jamaica, of course, that would increase the winds for everyone, the higher impacts. East end, if it moves into the east end, that would lessen some of the impacts in our western tier, and I'm still not sure about that. That's something we have to fine-tune together and just really go step by step as we go forward. So let me show you what I'm seeing, at least a first sample of of what's going to happen. Now, Saturday is an interesting day in the sense that some of us may wake up to some sun. Some of us may be going all day and saying, hey, what storm? Where's this storm? Well, remember that Brian said this is a very slow mover. It is taking its time. But on Saturday, especially late on Saturday, the hurricane, it should be a hurricane by then, will be approaching the eastern side of Jamaica. So the winds pick up upwards of about 60 to maybe 70 miles per hour with higher gusts, especially Saturday night. This is still to the east. So again, western zones not as much, winds 35 to 40. Of course, with that said, the seas are going to be building. We know that they're going to be very aggressive. We'll already have some of the coastal flooding out ahead of all of this moving in. But you get a sample of some of the winds, how they pick up from east to west. This is Saturday. Now, with that said, you trust me, put a lot of trust in me, and I do not take that for granted. I do the same. I trust you. This map here, and the maps I'm about to show you, they are going to change because the track is uncertain, and it's one of those systems, it's going to be uncertain the entire way. So stick with me, right? I will let you know. I'll put out those additional videos, but it's going to change. So you can see here, maybe by the time I join you tomorrow morning, it's showing that we'll have the winds approaching 90 miles per hour by Saturday. We'll see. We've got to see how this shakes out together. So just know that it's going to change. So as you share this information, say, hey, Brian also said that there's going to be some changes to this, so we're just going to do this system together because, again, high variables, high chance of changes in this. Now, by Sunday, as it stands now, it looks like this will be very close to the southern coast or maybe right on top of Jamaica. This is where I think it could be. I think it could be trying to make a landfall or at least close to it Sunday into Monday, right along the southern coast. Obviously, this is a bad situation with the wind, with the rain. A sample of some of the winds, if this is the case, maybe around 110 miles per hour. I've seen some of the computer models saying they could be as high as 130, maybe 140. Others saying that maybe it'll be a little bit weaker. Maybe the mountains will help us out a lot more. Let's hope they do, and keep it a bit weaker. But this gives us a firsthand. If the position is here, and as I mentioned, it's going to change some. Maybe this will be over here, maybe it'll be over there. But on Sunday, if it is sitting here, we're talking about winds along the southern coast upwards of 110 miles per hour. But that's still, even as that moves in, it wraps around those strong winds on the north side. So we're getting the hurricane conditions on Sunday on the north side as well. Just a little bit less, but wrapping around, and all of us dealing with those very high seas. And again, the winds around a system are counterclockwise. So it pushes in the water here, it pushes in the water here, kind of takes it off here, and then pushes it back. So it just depends on where the center of this is, when we're going to see the flooding. Then on Monday, there are some indications that this could make that direct landfall, move right on top. This could also be Tuesday. That's the issue. It could be such a slow mover. Some of the models are saying, hey, when it starts to turn, it slows down. That's what happens. I've been doing this for decades. When a system starts to come at you and then starts to turn, it's kind of feeling something, but it takes a minute to get caught up into that front, so it actually slows down. So this same map on Monday may also be Tuesday, and that's the big problem. That's a long duration wind event. If you just have strong winds for a 12-hour period, that can knock down some trees. Well, if you have those same strong winds, I'm not even talking about hurricane force winds, say tropical storm force winds, say 60, 70, if they persist for over a day, then 2 days, then 3 days, that just piles up. It pushes the trees, it pushes everything else, and the wind direction is going to change. So it could be pushing something one way, then the winds come out of the other way, and it pushes it the other way. It's easier to fall then because it's kind of already loosened. So this is a feel of what we could expect on Monday. Winds approaching 100 on the north side, still near 100 on the south side. That's the early feel. Now, if this is more over here and sitting over water longer, the winds will be substantially higher, right? If it is taking more of a route over the water, the winds will be substantially higher. Could be a category 4, potentially category 5. If this comes in a little bit sooner, say into the eastern zones, that would bring some higher winds here, but give it less time to strengthen, and it would lessen the winds in the western sections. Hope that makes sense. So again, it really depends on the position, but everything I just showed you, all of the models, what I'm seeing, it's bringing a hurricane to Jamaica as we work our way into the weekend, especially deeper into the weekend and early next week. Now, as far as the rain goes, this gives us a feel. Here we are in Jamaica, Cuba, Turks and Caicos, Southern Bahamas, Haiti, the Dominican Republic. You see these brighter colors showing up, especially along the peninsula in Haiti. We're talking about 300 to 400 millimeters of rain, 30 to 40 centimeters, a foot to 2 feet of rain. that could be underdone. What I mean by underdone is it could actually be more than that. We could actually see more rain than that. And then eventually, this is a 3-day forecast, so this is really the rest of today into tomorrow, into Saturday. We could eventually see, even Saturday night, this stuff here, as this moves in, if the hurricane moves into our direction, is sitting on top of us in Jamaica, and eventually Cuba, watching as well, this rain here sitting over water moves on top of us. These are rain totals, almost hard to say, 500 to 750 millimeters. So we're talking 20 to 30 inches. We're talking 2 to 3 feet. So again, upwards of 500 millimeters, pushing 750 millimeters of rain. That is some historic levels of rain, just since we've had the records for Jamaica, if that shakes out. Because I mentioned the long duration event, that would be significant, life-threatening flooding. And I don't mean this to be scary. I'm hoping all of this stays away and we wake up and we just get better. Every minute I'm just trying to find, talking to my family, trying to find better news, but just telling you what I'm seeing at this point. We could have an incredibly significant rain event out of this, not just the winds, the long duration winds, but the life-threatening rain. That's why I mentioned we all have different means. If you could just kind of talk to one another. So if you live in a spot that's a little more vulnerable, maybe you've got a place to go to kind of ride out this storm in a structure, more of a block structure, away from water, less susceptible, less likely to be dealing with landslides and rock slides, that sort of thing. So that's what we're doing now. I mentioned now is the most critical time because we can make those preparations. We are in action mode and we can help each other and get the word out as well. So with that, we're in action mode. Haiti and the Dominican Republic, again, for the significant life-threatening flooding, not all of the DR, but several areas. And then of course across Haiti, southern end of Haiti, watching over toward Jacmel, tropical storm to hurricane conditions are possible on top of the rain. And then of course Jamaica, full throttle hurricane preparations. Whatever you have to do to stay safe. I hope we get some good news. I hope we're chatting on Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and we're like, hey, thank goodness it was not as bad, and we're grateful. But at this point, because I was showing you late, if this takes that turn toward us, which it should, it looks like it's going to, late Saturday, we start to get some really bad weather moving in. It is Thursday evening now. That window to prepare, it is closing. Tomorrow's the last full day to do that, and some of us are going to have some rain tomorrow. So we need to make those full throttle hurricane preparations now. We don't have a choice in the matter, right? Everything I'm showing you everything I've got. It makes sense that we need to take those preparations for a direct hit of a hurricane in Jamaica, and then we will see together exactly what happens. But we have to make those preparations, no doubt. Full throttle hurricane preparations at this time across Jamaica, and then we'll continue to break it down together exactly what happens. Now, as far as monitor mode goes, Cayman Islands, I'm not seeing a scenario at this point that just shoots this toward the Cayman Islands, but what I do want to see is how it grows. So as you get over toward, swinging back toward Little, over toward the Brac, again, there could be some impacts, maybe not as much over toward Grand Cayman, we'll see, but we'll see how this shakes out. But we're in monitor mode. We're reviewing our hurricane plan, kind of thinking what we need to do if there's going to be some flooding. But as of now, I'm not quite seeing this just shooting in. If this goes over Jamaica, it's going to shoot right up toward eastern and parts of central sections of Cuba, and then the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. We're now in monitor mode because if this swings around, it could still be a powerful hurricane with substantial rain. So southeastern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, much of Cuba, central and eastern sections, we are now in monitor mode. We are starting to really kind of ramp things up. We're not in full action mode yet, but we're starting to think, hey, if tomorrow we're in action mode or the next day, what do I need to do to keep my family safe, to keep a property safe best I can? So again, monitor mode for some new locations. And you see why right here. All of the modeling except the American model takes this right toward Jamaica. Again, the southern track versus that eastern track, that'll be critical for the impacts, but that's what we'll be tracking together. But it's going to be a large system, so all of us are going to get some impacts. All of us are making the preps. Now, the American model is a little bit more over here a couple days ago, even yesterday, so it has shifted a little bit. We'll see what happens with that. But either way, you can see here across the Cayman Islands, most of the modeling, what I'm seeing now is that this would move right over Jamaica and then lift up toward the eastern end of Cuba as a hurricane, and then, of course, course, that would mean hurricane impacts for the southeastern sections of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, but it's a slow mover. That's why we're in monitor mode. I value your resources, your time, all of that, no doubt. So we've got some time, a little more time to kind of watch this because it's going to be a slow mover. So southeastern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, hang with me. We got another day or two to kind of fine tune this. Now this black line is kind of the consensus of the models. That's not always right, but in this case, this is what I would lean to, that curl back toward Jamaica, then kind of coming right over Jamaica, and then lifting toward eastern Cuba, southern and southeastern Bahamas, close to the Turks and Caicos as a hurricane, and then shooting off. Bermuda, I watch everyone down the road. We'll be waiting and seeing, of course, if this is still something as it works its way toward Bermuda. A lot's going to hinge on the timing of a front that is working its way back through the southeast U.S. eventually, which I'll show you in a second. Now, all of the models have this strengthening. Again, we're starting to lose some of the wind shear. So a day from now, tomorrow, we'll start to see more organization, but especially Saturday into Sunday, that's when most of the models have this as a hurricane a couple days from now. And then some, and many of them, and some reliable models have this as a major hurricane, but it depends on the track. If this moves right into Jamaica, the mountains will help out some, but if it stays just to the south, it could be a Category 4, Category 5. We're just going to have to handle that together. Now, the concern is the water, of course. If it takes that path right around Jamaica, just be feeding off the warm water. That would be a horrible situation, having a Category 4, maybe 5 nearby for days and days. But still, if it moves right in as a hurricane, we have hurricane impacts that would be moving in. But it's not just the warm water temperatures. It's riding right over the heat content. So even though it moves slowly, it doesn't really churn up cooler water, high heat content, or hot pockets in the water. It just brings up more warm water to help fuel it. Now, here's a look at a version of the European model. And this, I think, has the best handle at this time of what could happen, but we'll see how this changes together. So here's Jamaica, here's Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba. We get back through the Cayman Islands, watching Central America, not seeing a scenario that this kind of shoots closer, but monitoring everything. Belize back through Honduras, watching the islands, Providencia. High pressure, the blockers up here, at least temporarily. We've got the blocker up here. There's another area of high pressure, another blocker here. So it can't really go. And then meanwhile, just filters in all that rain toward Hispaniola. Not a lot of rain yet. Well, we've had rain in spots in Jamaica, but not widespread yet. Not all of us have had that. Then by the time we work our way into tomorrow, starting to strengthen, right? Later tomorrow should become a tropical storm, a stronger tropical storm later tomorrow as it organizes, but still not into Jamaica, but still pumping in all of that rain to Haiti and back toward parts of the Dominican Republic. There's a front that it doesn't really grab it. High pressure, there's that area of high pressure that's at least temporary, helping to keep it just sitting in place. The highs are the blockers. That's why it's not moving. It doesn't have anywhere to go. It wants to lift to the north, but then it bumps into that. I mentioned another area of high pressure back toward the west. Now, as we go from Friday into Saturday, here's Jamaica. Again, Cayman Islands right through here. You could see this area getting closer. Now, as it gets closer, and this is a problem. This is later on Saturday. It barely moved, right? You could even rewind this video a little bit, go back on it. It barely moved. And then with that, we could get clipped by strong tropical storm or even hurricane conditions, southern peninsula of Haiti. And Saturday is the day I mentioned. Some of us will start to feel the winds, but others will be like, where's the storm? It's not here yet. Well, by the time we get into Sunday, this is Sunday, that's when a strengthening hurricane gets closer and starts to work in. So we'll start to get some impacts in eastern sections of Jamaica late Saturday night, with hurricane conditions more likely, very likely in eastern sections, and then starting to spread across. Now, here comes the system back through the U.S. This is what will eventually guide this system and help it make that turn. So we don't have that blocker in place, and we've got something that can eventually move it, but it's going to take a while. This here is by the time we get into Monday, and look at Monday. This will either be in Jamaica or very close as a strengthening hurricane. Could be a Category 2, Category 3 major hurricane at that point. This is the long duration event I've been talking about. That makes it really tough. I've been through these. I've been through some of the very long ones. It feels like in the middle of the night in a hurricane, as you know, it feels like forever, let alone dealing with this for quite a bit of time. But it does help to know that. That's why I'm giving you the heads up to kind of help reduce anxiety, to give you a handle on what's going to happen, because this is by Tuesday. This model has this hurricane still sitting either on top of or near Jamaica by the time we get into Tuesday, which is a terrible scenario. Now think about that. A hurricane dumps a lot of rain in one day. We're talking 3 to 4 days. That's why I mentioned those rain totals that are so substantial. And my concern is safety. Not even as much exactly what happens with the forecast exactly, but with safety. We're going to have a ton of rain. We need to help each other out, and we may need to switch locations to stay safe. Now, by the time we get into Wednesday, this should finally move. System kind of digs into the southeast U.S., grabs this and moves it back toward Cuba. Maybe a little bit faster than this at this point. Sometimes when it gets picked up, if this front speeds up a little bit more, it may already be over the southeastern Bahamas and near the Turks and Caicos at that point, kind of coming out of Cuba. We'll wait and see. But you get the feel of the long duration event, as this will be nearby Jamaica, or at least, or just simply moving in for a multitude of days. Now, here's the American model. This one is still different. I still like to show you everything I have. That's always my promise to you, to just give you everything. I trust your judgment, your knowledge with these things. The American model shows this working its way toward Haiti and the Dominican Republic. This is, nothing's out of the realm of possibility. We're talking about the future, right? It's really hard to forecast 3 days out, let alone 5, 6 days out. Well, this here is the American model. It is just saying that the front of the north is stronger and it will grab it and move in a hurricane to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. That would keep it away from Jamaica. That would be that would be amazing. Not that we wish it on anyone else, but already, regardless of the track, as I mentioned in previous videos, Haiti and the Dominican Republic, whether it's the American model or the European model, we are getting the life-threatening rain. That is the big concern. That's why I've been warning us throughout Haiti and the DR for days and days. Now, this model is less likely, but I'll be watching everything to see if we do have any changes. I always want to give you all the information I have. So Jamaica, we need to make those full throttle hurricane preparations. That's just where we stand now, not only for just a hurricane, I'm saying just a hurricane, but one that can last several days. So we have no choice based on what I showed you, right? You've seen it with me. We have to take those preparations. My biggest concern, well, obviously the winds, will be the flooding, the rain. That's why I mentioned, just in your location, your community, anybody who doesn't have a home that's as good, that maybe they could have a place to go. That's one of my biggest concerns, because I've been through these things. I've seen things, we've seen just bad days of rain, right, where we've had huge issues and rock slides and mudslides, rivers rising. This is, if this pans out, this will be much more significant to a high degree. So we really need to help each other out on this, which I know you're doing. I'm seeing your comments. Exact track, that landfall point uncertain, doesn't move right in, doesn't move around, east, west. I'll fine tune that with you every step of the way, and I'll update those winds based on what I'm seeing, right? We're going to have some changes. Where it goes, though, very high impacts. Those rain totals, they're crazy. They are so very high with this. We're starting to get that in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, so we're already seeing it happening. And then in a couple days, we'll start to see the rain totals really stacking up across Jamaica, with a life-threatening flooding and the winds. If this just continues to intensify, it could be a major hurricane moving into Jamaica. Every system is different. This one looks to be a slow mover, looks to have some high winds and an incredible amount of rain. This is a very high concern. So take care of your family, take care of yourself, help each other out in a system like this, especially because it's going to be so long. And as we go forward, I'll have more specifics for you. Know that I'm watching this nonstop. I've got you covered. That is my promise to you. Have a good night.